Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Abby and I like to talk about spooky things. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 29 terrifying TikToks. As always, if you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, click the subscribe button down below, and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I post Sundays and now Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. A lot of you said that Thursdays work better for you, so I will be moving my second weekly video from Wednesday to Thursday. Without further ado, let's get right on into the video. Our first TikTok is by the user Ladies Lover Play.
A random lady warned me to leave the bar. She said tonight the veil was thin. So I'm at this little bar in Hyde Park. It was kind of giving like lounge vibes. I'm solo this night. It's a Wednesday night. And you know, one of those nights where like the music is soft and low and you feel like you're supposed to meet somebody or something like that. So I'm at the bar and I noticed this girl walked in and she was bad, like long legs, small waist, just pretty. But she wasn't alone. She was sitting with this older woman, which looked like she was probably like in her mid-40s or something like that. And she was dressed in all black. And something about her just felt like heavy. Like not bad, just like she had seen stuff that most people pretend that they'd never seen. So they sit down like a few seats away from me, but shorty, she just like keep looking at me, like smiling, whatever. You know, like with the flirty eyes, like the come say something to me type of eyes. So you know what I do? I step. So I walk over, you know, and I'm like, you know, y'all mind if I join y'all? And the pretty one, she kind of just laughs and she like, yeah, please do. But before I even sit down, y'all, the older woman that she's with grabs my wrist like with all her force, and she says something like, the veil is thin tonight, you need to go. And I'm like, what? So I'm thinking she just being weird. So I look at the pretty girl like that was like, you know, kind of felt like she was inviting me over, and she just kind of laughed it off. She's like, oh yeah, she's just like that. Y'all. But the woman, the look in her eyes, like she was like dead serious. And she says it again, but like even quieter. She was like, the veil is thin and she's not who she looks like. Now I'm just freaked out completely. But, you know, I played cool, whatever. So, you know, I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I forgot something in my car. So as I'm walking out, I glance back and the older lady just watching me, like shaking my head. And the girl, she just staring straight now, like in a trance, like she's not blinking, not moving, like a damn statue. So I get to my car and my phone buzzes, and it's like an unknown number. Just like one message. It says she wears her last face well, but it ain't hers. I'm like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, I'm over saucy right now. Like, I'm just trying to leave. Like, I thought I was gonna have a good time. But that's not the crazy part, y'all. Now this girl keeps showing up in my dreams, and she's been showing up in my dreams every night since that night. I don't know, chat. Let me know something, chat. Like, let me know. I don't know what y'all think. I don't know if she trying to set me up. I don't know what could possibly be going on. But let me know something, y'all. Like, let me know something. Please share this with anybody you think can help. Save the video, favorite, whatever. Because I might even continue and make a part 2 if we can get some traction and somebody can let me know something. Let me know some, chat.
I will say I do believe that this user posts fake or other people's videos for engagement, because the entirety of his profile is just him telling insane stories like this. However, regardless of the authenticity of this video, the story makes me think this is an energy vampire situation. And I do find it interesting that the friend essentially warned him to get away. Personally, if I were said energy vampire, I would be irritated that my friend's like blowing my cover and shooing my victim away. But again, I do believe that this is a fabricated story, so everything adds up a little bit more when you add that context to it. Our next 5 TikToks are by the user Thy Artist Kaylee. A few of them are her verbally telling the story, and other ones have words over the screen. So for those of you who are listening, I will be reading out the words on the screen for the ones that she is not talking herself.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to squeeze in a little story time of like the first aspect of this Ouija experience. My first Ouija experience was like 2 to 3 hours long, so it is a bit of a longer story, but I wanted to get in at least like the first, little bit that I can recollect anyways into a little story time. First, I did want to say that a lot of people are saying that I'm dumb in the comments, and I never denied being dumb. I know that it was a dumb decision. That's why I posted it. But I do appreciate all of the supportive comments because I have dealt with some pretty chaotic experiences since the Ouija experiences that I have had. And then also, I kind of wanted to mention that obviously whatever I was speaking with didn't form full sentences on the board. There were millions of questions being asked for all of this information to compile into the story that I'm going to tell. I also wanted to bring up to anybody that's interested in playing one, because obviously I didn't listen to everybody that told me not to. When people say that like these spirits are manipulative, that is an understatement. I was told that a million times and I still went into it and I was like, oh, I'm not going to let this thing manipulate me. They can quite literally morph the vibe and the atmosphere that you get. Because I know that a lot of people are able to sense when something is negative. When you're walking into some place, you can tell that the negative energy is there because it's heavy, it feels crappy. And that is not the vibe that I got when I first started on this Ouija board session. When we first started, it was silent for a really good amount of time. I would say probably 15 minutes of absolutely no movement, and we were about to give up. It was getting boring. I was with my cousin and we were like, okay, nothing's happening. And I also should mention that my cousin is older than me. She has had many near-death experiences, which has brought her a little bit more open to the spiritual aspect on things. She also participates in a lot of paranormal investigations, and she knows like in depth a lot of the rules that come with the Ouija board. So I wasn't going into this like completely, no knowledge to what was going on. Anyways, it gets to be like 15-20 minutes into everything being silent, and we're like, okay, maybe nothing's gonna happen. It's the middle of fall. We were gonna watch a scary movie and just have a good night eating snacks. And we both still had our hands on the planchette because we obviously knew not to take our hands off of it. And I know that everybody's seen in the movies where people are playing Ouija boards and the girls are like, oh, you moved it, and it's like a whole little battle. But when I tell you that this thing moved, and I didn't even have to question my cousin because it pulled, it didn't push. There was an actual force of pulling it, and it spelled out hello. So I almost shit my pants. I didn't expect that. I thought that, it would feel like questionable, but there was no denying that something pulled it with complete force to the point where my hand almost like ripped off of it. And then after like the fear kind of wore off, I was kind of excited because I was like, oh wow, my first experience, I get to ask questions, I actually get to like have this, be able to say that this is real. So we obviously, as anybody would, started off with asking what its name was, and it ended up saying that his name was Harry, which of course, like, Harry the ghost. We asked all like the normal questions that anybody would ask, like how old are you, where are you from, stuff like that. And whatever this thing was, of course, decided to take on the role of an 8-year-old boy. And again, I want to like make it so clear that there was absolutely no negativity at all when this first started. It felt like sincere, if that's the word. It felt positive, like there wasn't anything that was going to go wrong. Anyways, after we kind of talked about like, oh, well, how did you pass away? All of that, which it said that the 8-year-old boy was sick. And then it said something about 1920s. I don't really remember the exact date. And then it went into like flattering words. And these words were all generally pretty misspelled, which made it even more believable that this was an 8-year-old child. And when I say flattering, I don't mean that, Harry the ghost was like, oh, you're so beautiful. It was like words like kind or nice, just small words like that a child would say. And then we kind of had like a little bit of a break because we had gotten like maybe 20 minutes into it. And it spelled out, we hadn't even asked anything, and it spelled out baby. And we were obviously confused, and we were like, what do you mean baby? And then it spelled my name, which neither of us had even mentioned our names at all. So we obviously dived into questions like that, and I asked, are you saying that I'm pregnant or I have a baby? Whatever. And it said stomach. So I took that with obviously what it was saying. Now, the weird part about this is that after questions about this whole baby thing, because obviously it made me feel super weird, it had made a comment about the baby being small and in the hospital or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how it was worded. I didn't like go super deep down that hole just because there's so many like specific questions, but when I put 2 and 2 together, my daughter was born at 30 weeks, and she was in the hospital for 2 months. Coincidence? Maybe, probably not, as we get deeper into this story. But we continued talking, and then it would start saying very specific names of people that had absolutely no relevance to any of the questions or conversation. At that time, my dad was having a biopsy done on his neck, and I was worried about him. Everybody was worried about him. And it had mentioned his name and then said neck. That really threw me off because one thing I knew was not to ask questions that you don't know or you don't want to know the answer to. So I didn't bring up my dad or anything that was going on. These were just things that whatever it was pulling and like writing out without us even talking. It ended up saying that my dad did not have cancer, which ended up becoming true, and I am very grateful for that. And that's just like one piece of information out of this entire session that was actually true, and there's no way that whatever this was could have known it, but obviously it did because it probably wasn't an 8-year-old boy named Harry. Anyways, the story keeps on going, the Ouija session keeps on going, and I didn't think about this back then, but I know enough now to understand that this probably was a red flag, and this was when shit kind of started getting a little weird. I had to have some fun, and so we were like, oh well, you know, there's motion lights all around this house, and they were like circulating around the room, and like the outlets, they were like lights that were plugged in. So we were like, hey, set off these motion detectors if you're real, because you know you should be able to do that. And I shit you not, looking back, I'm like, the hair is raising on my arms. It all around the entire room, it was like flicker, 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 flicker. It just kept on going, like it was just walking around the room. And me and my cousin looked at each other, and the room just got like silent. We were like flushed in the face, like, holy shit. I know that this sounds crazy, and I know that a lot of people don't believe in this stuff, but God, I wish that there was a way that I could prove this, because I know that I sound insane. I said, okay, are you able to talk? And I'm thinking, you know, this is the stuff that happens in the movies. You can't just hear with your own ears a ghost say something. And it had said alone. And we were like, oh, are you saying that you're going to say something in our ears if we're alone? And it said yes. So I, Mr. or Miss Big Ball Sack McGee, went in the corner of the room, in a dark corner, and I sat there. And instantly it got so cold, like the temperature dropped, and it felt so heavy, like I was just being like surrounded. And it sounded like a little boy said hi in my ear. A little boy. There was absolutely no denying that it sounded like a child. Now shit's getting wild. We're like, oh my God, we're actually talking to a ghost. Holy shit. And it's a nice ghost, whatever. Anyways, now this is what I'm going to bring up where I'm like, oh, I should have thought about it. It started just stanking like ass in that room, and I was like, what the hell, like, that does not smell right. Like, did you just shit your pants to my cousin? Ha ha ha. No. So there's not much to go into that. We ended up blaming it on the dog farting, but looking back, we should have immediately been like, oh yeah, it smells like, you know, dead bodies in here. We should probably stop the game, because that's a sign that whatever you're talking to is negative or it's demonic. At this point, after that smell, that's when things kind of started turning around. We noticed that the planchette was just moving a lot more violently. And I ended up getting scratches on my arm, and I'm not going to be able to finish this story time tonight, so I'm probably going to leave it off on this. And I'll end up doing a part 2 on like what happens after that stank ass, rotten ass smell. But I didn't want to leave you guys hanging on like at least a part 1, because obviously my video is kind of popping off and everybody's either roasting me in the comments or laughing at my crack joke. But yeah, I'll come back for a part 2 if anybody ends up being interested in knowing what happens after my nose hairs were singed off by the smell of ass.
So anyways, maybe acknowledging whatever it is haunting me, I haven't in a while. Pissed it off, because why is it 3:57 a.m. and I was just woken up from the sound of something running fast up my stairs that I sleep right next to. The first time I ever saw a ghost, it was an older woman staring at me through a mirror. She was in a state of decay. What people don't talk about is that spirits can choose how someone can see them. This, for me, solidified that mirrors are portals to the other side.
Okay, so hopefully this is the final video of my first Ouija board session, but I can't guarantee it just because I have to get back in the house to tend to my children. So anyways, I left off at like the smell that we noticed, and at that time we really didn't think anything of it, which obviously looking back now, we should have immediately just been like, oh wow, okay, that's a red flag, but we didn't. Okay, so like I said, the planchette started moving a lot more violently at this point, and we kind of started putting two and two together that maybe the energy was changing. We went back and forth on whether we were even talking to the same spirit at this time, because like I said in the beginning, it was such a positive energy that we really didn't feel like we were in a position where we needed to be scared of a negative outcome. But at this point, there was just a complete shift. The temperature of the room had dropped. The board was just, it almost like looked like it was vibrating. I don't know if that makes sense. And again, I sound insane, but it quite literally looked like it was vibrating. So at this point it started like spelling out some words that we honestly had no clue what it even meant. We ended up like Googling it, and a lot of them came back as like old war words. So I'm not really sure like what the correlation with that is, because I honestly don't even believe that this was some type of like human entity. This was like very demonic, what it felt like at this point. So after catching on with that negative energy, we decided to end the session. We said goodbye, we did a prayer, and then we decided to go eat some snacks. And we knew that we wanted to like get on the game. I say game because that's what everybody calls it, and everybody's hating on me for it. I get it, you're not supposed to play with it. We all know. But we knew that we wanted to try it again later in the night. So we eat, and then we go back to the board. And again, it was silent. There was nothing happening initially, but we knew we wanted to maybe connect with a different spirit. We ended up connecting with a spirit. I'm not even going to say its name, but I believe it started with a B. And when I tell you that there was just like this sinking feeling in my stomach, almost the feeling of like impending doom. So I don't know what came across me, but I ended up going into full-on panic attack mode. I was hyperventilating. I started crying. The energy felt like it was too much, like I was being suffocated. And that's pretty much the only way that I can explain how negative it felt. Now, there was a different type of force with this planchette. How I mentioned before that it felt like it was pulling, and so there was no way that I could deny it. With this one, it was being moved so rapidly that it started lifting off of the board when it was moving. And I shit you not, and I know, I keep on saying I sound crazy. There's people that are going to hate on me, and there's people that are going to believe me, but it was moving to the point where it was like practically levitating. It started saying some out-of-pocket words that I'm not going to say on this video. And then it got silent again and felt kind of calm for like a minute. And me and my cousin were like, okay, so what do we do at this point? We should probably just close it out because something's not right. Well, when I said that, it started like going in a figure 8. And I know that that's like the telltale, like get the hell off of it. And so we did. We got off of it. We knew that that meant that something was trying to exit the board. Okay, so we ended up saying goodbye at that point, and we did a prayer, and we did not get back on the board that night. However, this is the start to a lot of negative experiences as far as like spiritual, paranormal, anything that goes into that. This was the start to a lot unfolding in my life, and it even made an impact on my family members. My cousin has also had plenty of experiences since this point, and I don't doubt that she would be willing to come on here and talk about her side of it as well. But really, I guess that's kind of like everything that happened. Of course, I don't remember every aspect of it. This was 7 years ago. But if anybody wants to hear about every paranormal experience that has happened since that point, because now, I don't know if by acknowledging it and like making a TikTok about it, if it could understand that. But I was woke up at 3:57 in the morning last night to something running up the stairs, and I was thinking it was one of my kids going downstairs to get a drink of water, and everybody was asleep. the energy has just made another shift in my home as of recently. And, you know, I think that you would really have to experience this personally to understand where I'm coming from. But it's like you're living in a constant sense of paranoia and anxiety. And I actually believe that I might have some videos that I can look for from some of my paranormal experiences. I'd have to really dig through my phone, but I'm happy to post anything for anybody that's interested. And I'm sorry that this took so long to post. But yeah, here we are. And there's a lot of haters in the comments, and there's a lot of support too. So I do appreciate all of the nice comments people have been making, but I am not making any of this up as much as I seem like I am, because it sounds crazy. This is all accurate information that I am telling you guys.
After playing with a Ouija board, it telling me I was pregnant, and me seeing myself staring back at me from across my living room, I used a spirit box to try to gain some clarity on why I was having so many paranormal experiences that were negatively impacting my life. The only voice that came through was something out of a movie. A deep, raspy voice that kind of sounded like they were out of breath said, "Won't let go." I've debated on trying a spirit box again to ask further questions, but I'm scared of the outcome. First things first, let's not play with Ouija boards unless you are a professional and you are prepared for whatever may attach itself to you, whatever negative outcome there may be. Ouija boards are not toys. They're not for the weak, and you will almost certainly have a horrible experience either during or after. Every time we talk about a Ouija board, I mention this because it seems that younger people do not weigh the risks or pay attention to the warnings. And I say this as someone who ignored my family and played a Ouija board myself and had negative experiences and haunted my house. So there's not a ton of judgment coming out of me because I really can't. And I understand the interest and the pull to try something like that, especially when you're told not to. But it really is for the best to just leave Ouija boards alone unless you are 100% certain you are okay with whatever negative outcome may arise from playing it, because there is a very large possibility that you will have some kind of attachment, some kind of haunting, some kind of negative experience. It's best to just leave Ouija boards alone. Our next TikTok's by the user, Noreem Iglior.
Scary story time from when I used to work in a funeral home. Now, this story isn't my story directly. My coworker told me it, but nevertheless. So several years back, I spent a while working in a funeral home here in the DFW area. It's a chain of funeral homes, so we would ping like between different locations depending on where we were needed. When I was there, I had a coworker who was a little bit older of a gentleman, like maybe would have been my dad's age, and he spent years and years and years working as a paramedic, but then he got kind of burnt out on that, so he moved into working in the funeral homes as an embalmer. One day I asked him, "So do you have any like spooky stories from your time working in this industry?" And he kind of thought for a second, and he was like, I do. I have a couple. I have one that sticks out. And I was like, well, let's hear it. So he goes on to tell me that one evening he was there working with, it was himself, another embalmer, and an apprentice. So when you become a embalmer, you work an apprenticeship like with a lot of the trades. So it was two embalmers and an apprentice, and they were starting to close for the day, and they had been in the process of getting ready and setting up a funeral for like an 8 or 9-year-old little girl. He said that him and the other embalmer were in the back, and the little girl in her casket had already been set up in like the receiving area where the family would be, and that they had sent the apprentice to go and like check the lights or adjust a spray of flowers or something like that. But he was there, he was by himself in that front room with the little girl. The two embalmers were in the back. My coworker said that while him and the other embalmer were in the back room, all of a sudden the apprentice burst in, starts frantically looking for his keys and his stuff, and said, "I'm leaving. I'm out of here. This isn't for me. I can't do this anymore." And him and the other embalmer were like, "Wait, what? Like, what's going on, man? Like, hang on. Like, it's, working with kids can be hard. Like, did something happen?" He's like, "I'm out. I saw something. I'm out of here." The apprentice takes his stuff and leaves. So my coworker and the other embalmer figure out who's going to close. There's like 1 or 2 things we need to check. My coworker told the other embalmer, "Go home, I'll take it from here." So my coworker is now by himself, and before he leaves, he goes to like lock the doors, turn the lights off, check some things, and he goes into the room, the receiving area where the little girl's in her casket, and it's set up for the service the next day. He said that as he was adjusting something, either with the casket or the flowers, or like the little girl's clothing, he's facing the casket, and he said he, out of his periph, saw someone walk up beside him. He thinks like maybe there's just something like out of the corner of his eye, but He said he turned to look, and beside him, looking into the casket, was the little girl. And he said he just froze, that in all of his time working as like a paramedic and in the funeral home, he'd never seen anything. So he said he just froze and looked at her, and he said that she looked at herself for a moment or two and then just dematerialized, like into nothing. So as he's telling me the story, I'm like, that's terrible. That's tragic. That's horrifying. When was this? Where was this? And he said, oh, it was a few years back. It was at this location. He said he had a couple of other experiences, but nothing so obvious as that. I myself had a couple of weird experiences between the few funeral homes. I'll probably make some videos about those. Are they ghosts? Are they jinn? Is it energy? Are our eyes playing tricks on ourselves? I don't know. But yeah, that was one of the scariest stories I heard working in a funeral home.
It was incredibly sad that girl was looking over her own body. I definitely understand being freaked out in that situation when you come across that, because it's unexpected. And I mean, a lot of the times we think of children's spirits to be evil because negative entities portray children to come off as something that's nicer and trick you into letting your guard down. But obviously in this situation, it's not the case. Obviously in this situation, that's not the case. But I'm sure part of the fright is just because children's spirits tend to have a negative connotation because of that. But like I said, it's incredibly sad that she's standing there looking over her body. It's like she's like trying to piece together what happened. And I don't know, I can't imagine the confusion of a child realizing that they are no longer alive. Our next TikTok's by the user Silent Hill Explorations. Honestly, I'm incredibly surprised that they just left all of those things there, especially human remains, like the ashes. Quite honestly, I'm horrified and a little bit disturbed that they would just disrespect some person like that by leaving their ashes behind. I mean, who knows, is the family like without them, that they were never able to get them because the funeral home shut down and now they can't get in contact with them? Or is it a situation of no one came to pick them up? Still, I feel like if it was a situation of someone not being picked up, I think the funeral home has a responsibility to respectfully bury them before completely abandoning the property. Like I honestly, that's the part that frightens me the most, is that there's just like people there. They just left their bodies, their remains, for what? Random people to come across. And unless something happened off camera that we didn't see, obviously they weren't disrespecting the human remains in any way. However, I'm sure there are plenty of people who would. I mean, there's a lot of disgusting people in the world, and I would not be shocked to hear that some person broke into the abandoned funeral home and, tossed around someone's ashes or something. And I feel like the funeral home has a responsibility to prevent that from happening, even on their way out. So that's the part that really stands out to me the most. The rest of it is incredibly unsettling how just frozen in time it all is. But yeah, I really find it a little bit disturbing that they just left those people's remains there. Kind of irresponsible, if you ask me. Our next 3 TikToks are by the user Josh Robillard.
The heck? Why is it doing this?
Honestly, I, to this day, still don't know whether or not I believe his content is real or not. I think there's a lot of really interesting things that he captures, but sometimes I feel like it's too good to be true. Sometimes I can't figure out how it could be faked. Other times I'm like, well, you know, someone could be pulling a string that we can't see or something like that. It really is hard for me to come to a conclusion with this one. I think it really could go either way, but I'd like to know what you guys think. Do his videos seem legit, or is this all just a setup? Our next TikTok's with user BrittanyLove0424.
So I came across this guy's page on my For You page. Just for reference, I watch a lot of like scary stuff. I like the creepy stories, the creepy woods, videos, ghosts, things like that. So the guy I came across, his name is Kyle Anthony. I'll tag him in the post below if you want to go to his page and check out his stuff. I guess his, house is haunted. He's got a tons of videos on there talking about it. But I just recently came across his stuff today, and the video that I saw was like hella creepy. So I'm gonna like clip the video here for you guys to see. After that clip, I adjusted like the brightness and stuff on it, and did another clip. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Well, I just saw the scariest thing I've ever seen in my life. Watch this. That looks like a person. Sorta. I screenshotted part of it and like brightened the image and stuff.
You could barely see anything without the lighting switched up in the video. However, once they change the lighting, oh my god, it does look like a person. Like, to me, it looks kind of like a person trying to struggle to like get through a tight space. Like it's like their upper body you can see, and they're like struggling to pull the rest of them through a tight space. Obviously, there's not like morgue refrigerators back there from what we can see, but that was what my first thought was, that it's like someone emulating climbing out of like a morgue fridge or something like that. It's so creepy. I can't imagine like if I was down there and I heard some commotion behind me and then I realized that I caught this on video or something. I'd never be going down there. Personally, I'd probably never go down there by myself to begin with. But I think this is such a great catch, and there's definitely something there. Our next TikTok's with the user, it's Mackenzie Jenny.
So I grew up evangelical, and that meant that anything spiritual that happened in my life was either like demonic or like angels from heaven. There was no room for the paranormal. That was a guise or a distraction from the real thing that was going on, which was demonic influence. However, since I've been deconstructing, it's had me rethink every like paranormal experience that I've ever had in my life, and I have to know if you guys think that my house is haunted. So let me just start off by saying we moved into this house about a year ago, and I've never felt anything weird in this house. It's not like I feel off. I've lived in houses before where I knew there was something dark there. This is not how I feel in this house, okay? It feels like nothing. However, a few weeks ago, my fiance and I started to go shopping at like estate sales, and started to get some decorations for the house and do some, just like kind of small decorations. We got like a little rug and different stuff. So we've been doing that, and I kid you not, ever since then we've had like some weird stuff going on. So the first thing that happened is my fiance was in the bathroom. I think he was like taking a shower, and I was in the living room, and all of a sudden I hear him go, "Babe," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm in the living room." And so a little bit later, he walks into the living room and he was like, "I could have sworn you were in the bedroom." Okay, so in our bedroom, like our bed, it makes a creaking sound every time someone gets on it or off of it. It's like, every time someone gets on or off of it, it makes that sound, and it only makes that sound if a person or an animal, like one of our bigger dogs, is getting on or off of the bed. It never makes that sound outside of that. And he was like, "Yeah, I was in the shower and I heard someone get on or off the bed, and I thought that it was you, so I started talking to you, and then when you didn't answer, that's when I called for you." I was like, that's weird. I didn't think too much of it. But then the other day I was at home, I was in the kitchen, and I had my back turned toward the refrigerator, and the little boy that I nanny was with me, and I was making him lunch. Okay. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the frother, like my frother for my coffee, it just shoots off the counter. Okay. It doesn't hit me, but it shoots off the counter and like clings to the floor, and it's bouncing, like the metal piece that it like sits in when it holds it, like bounced all the way across the kitchen. And the little boy that I nanny looked at me, he's 3, and he goes, why'd that happen? Why'd that happen? And I was like, I don't know, buddy. So then after that, I think it was the next day, I'm in the kitchen again, and this time I don't know, I was making something else, I don't know. And my dogs have a dog bed that's in the living room, and it's underneath the TV, and one of my dogs was laying there sleeping, okay? And she had earlier in the day stolen a can of cat food, and I hadn't picked it up yet, and it was just laying next to her. So like she's sleeping here, and it's laying next to her over here on this very large dog bed. Out of nowhere, my dog is asleep. The can of cat food flings off the dog bed and hits the wall. And it's like, cling, clang, 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 clang. And my dog freaks out. She Scooby-Doos away out of the living room. And so this is 3 instances now. And still, I don't feel anything weird. But my fiance said he's been waking up in the middle of the night to feed the cats, the kittens that we're bottle feeding right now. And a few times he said, I've had a hard time going back to sleep because I thought something weird. Like I felt something weird. But I'm home all the time by myself. And I never have felt a weird feeling, but these things are still happening. In the past, when weird things have happened to me, which I've had a lot of experiences, I've felt the presence. I know what it is. This time, I can't feel anything. And so that's kind of tripping me out. And I just want to know, any paranormal experts or just your opinions, like, is my house haunted? Or are these just like some weird coincidences?
No, I definitely say that there's some kind of paranormal activity going on there. It doesn't seem crazy or intense. Hopefully it doesn't ramp up, because I know a lot of times we hear stories where it doesn't sound crazy or intense, and then later on in the story it does ramp up and become something volatile. Hopefully that's not the case here, where it gets worse. But as of right now, I mean, it kind of just sounds like a little haunting. Like, nothing crazy, nothing you really need to worry about, just something I guess she'll have to get used to and become more accustomed to having a house guest. Our next TikTok's with the user, SandmanSC.
The old mirror that was right here, it was that tall.
No, I didn't have it.
It was too heavy. My parents were going to take it with them. It was too heavy for the movers to move. It was an old lead mirror, an old lead glass.
No,
That's still the same.
There was an old lead mirror in the bathroom upstairs. That's the only one that was the old one left.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it wasn't here though.
This was a little 4-post little thing here with a marble slab on it, and seems like there were coat hooks on that thing. I don't remember. This was supposed to be the coat closet. This is exactly the same.
Yeah, the only difference in here is that we closed in that doorway.
Yeah, that bathroom's pretty much got redone the floor. That's all the same. I was telling Shannon, this was the formal living room.
Yeah.
He said there was carpet all through here.
Yeah, this was all old wool carpet. It was 60-year-old carpet and still in good shape. But
Yeah.
wool carpet's probably what, $125 a yard now, if it's not $150.
Yeah. All the
But-
hardwood was here when I moved in, except for the kitchen. The kitchen had
This flooring you have in here
that's the original.
was the flooring that was in here
Yeah.
also.
And there was a big rug, he said.
And then we just put a big oriental rug. My mom did all over that. Had
Did you have ghosts in here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, she got rid of them.
That's bad, Mother.
It was bad removed. This door right here would open itself and close itself. It was just open and creak open and slam
You
shut.
see a willowy white up there at night. And I don't know the story behind any of it, how they came to be. And then looking down, I was scared. My bedroom was right up there.
That's Liam's
Right on
room.
the left.
Yeah, you had the big room.
I was scared when I was little to come up the top of those stairs and go to the end of the hallway and go in my room. I would go in and get my parents to take me to my, usually one of them was still up. I was 8, 9, 10 years old.
Why were you scared?
Because of the ghost. There was a ghost in that closet. Is there still a linen closet in that hall?
Yeah.
There was a ghost in there. There was a ghost in there. There were noises, UPS. I mean, there were noises hangers. My mom would say, "Have you been in that closet? Did you get a blanket down in there the other night or something?" I'm like, no, I haven't been in there. Well, these shirts are in the floor. These are your dad's shirts, and they're starched, and I've got to get them redone, you know. But yeah, that shit would get knocked off in that closet. Yeah, I was scared of shit. I was scared to death to walk down that long hallway right there. And then, can we go upstairs?
Yeah.
They overlooked the mess. I didn't.
No, don't worry about that.
I wasn't prepared for.
Now, I couldn't find the part 2 because obviously this video kind of cuts off a little bit abruptly. I could not find the part 2 when I saved this for this video, but I will keep an eye out and see if I can come across it and include it in a future video. However, I think this is so interesting. I love the concept of this guy coming back in and sharing stories from when he lived there and experiences he had. I mean, an 1897 home, I feel like there's bound to be some kind of activity, even if it's not like crazy or negative or anything. I feel like with that amount of time and the amount of people who have probably lived there over the years, there's bound to be some at least residual energy or something like that. But according to him, there were a lot of crazy things he experienced. I just really love this perspective of this family lives here now, and the man who grew up in this house previously is sharing all of his experiences. I really think this is an interesting concept and an interesting video that we don't really see much of. Our next TikTok is by the user Amanda000955. I really enjoy videos where it's like something's moving but all the other things around it are not. I feel like that is pretty hard to question. The only thing I can really think of is that maybe the way the flag was sitting, that it was able to be moved easier than the other ones nearby. However, when she's standing there at the end and her dress is kind of flowing, I feel like it seems like there's just some kind of a weird breeze coming from this specific grave. And maybe it is someone trying to get their attention. Either that or, I don't know, maybe the way that the trees are placed, it's like the breeze is only coming through there, but it seems like it's relatively open. Like it's not like a wall of trees or anything on both sides. So, I don't know, I feel like maybe it could be explained by physics, but I'd really like to think that maybe it was just someone who wanted someone to come over and say hi, have someone spend time with them. And it seems like she did do that. I think it would probably be a pretty freaky and surreal thing to experience in real life. Our next TikTok is by the user Spooky New England. Now there's a lot of words on the screen here, so I will be reading them out loud for those of you who are just listening. Strange things that happened that make me think the Conjuring house was trying to warn me.
Behind you. So I know a light over there just turned on by itself.
I didn't realize the well was right behind me. Some believe it's the source of the house's power. I was given well water after my first visit. After I brought it home, there was a mysterious fly infestation. It eventually just stopped. The same thing happened to the Perrin family. I still keep it in my house, but I haven't opened it since. I took it out of the cabinet and held it for the first time in years to make this video. As I'm editing this, there's suddenly flies buzzing around me. I consistently woke up around 4 to 5 a.m. when I worked here. It's supposedly the time that the spirits are most likely to manifest. Carolyn Perrin's clock would stop at 5:15 a.m. after she was visited by the crooked neck woman. These are the cards I pulled my last night at the house in my first week. My friend was fired the next day because the owner claimed the ghost told her he was stealing. On my first day of training, I was reading about the haunting the Perrin family experienced while living here. This Emily Dickinson poem stuck out to me. I didn't realize how relevant it would be to my time working here.
I feel really weird, like dizzy. My head hurts. When I walk around, it's like I just feel unsteady.
I'm not gonna lie, I would not want any well water. I would not want to take it back to my house, and I certainly wouldn't open the jar I mean, to each their own, and good for her for having the bravery to do so. But I would not want anything from that home in my home. As fascinated as I am by The Conjuring, as much as I'd love to visit one day, as much as I love the original Conjuring film that's based on this house, I don't want any souvenirs. I want nothing to do with it inside my home. I mean, they say that you should not take anything from the Conjuring home, so it is interesting to me that presumably the owner allowed her to take well water with her. However, during her time here, the owner in charge was the one who's a little off her rocker, so maybe that's the case. I also feel like maybe having an unstable owner could definitely affect things in the house. I think maybe her unstable energy could definitely affect the energy of the house and cause things to ramp up or get weirder. However, back to the water, I think the flies are crazy, because as we all know, flies tend to appear when we're talking about demonic entities. And there's definitely those in the Conjuring house. So it would not surprise me if taking that well water home is absolutely linked to the flies. I mean, I don't know how else you could explain it. If there's flies when she brought the well water home, and then a fly as she takes it out again to show us, if I were her, I would take that as a sign that I need to bring that well water back to where it came from. Our next two TikToks are the user Vento Cran.
Can that door open on its own?
Cool, come in. It's
No.
telling you to come in.
I'm not coming in, no.
If there's anything that I learned from my ghost post, it's that one, we would either all survive or all collectively together, because everybody pretty much has the same response as me. And two, I understand that my jacket makes me look like Hagrid. Am I embarrassed? No. If anything, I'm flattered.
It's so funny to me that she's just like, yeah, whatever, like, come in. It's telling you to come in. I feel like I'd probably act like that in person to, like, be nonchalant and not let it know it freaked me out, but inside I'd be, like, losing it. I would be freaking out. Also, I mean, I'd be a little excited because, like, that's a cool thing to witness, especially if it's not your home. If it's my home, I'd be freaking out. But if it happened elsewhere, I'd be like, that's kind of cool. But also I'd be freaking out a little bit. Our final 10 TikToks of the video are brought to you by the user SustainASpell444.
Hi there, I'm Tanny, and I'm back tonight with another ghost story from my haunted house. If you've been watching the series, you're used to only seeing me talk about my experiences, but tonight I convinced my husband here to talk about something that he witnessed. So,
hi, I'm Glenn, and this story took place last fall. Tanny and I were in our living room relaxing and watching a movie, and it so happens that the TV is against a wall that also has a pane glass door leading to our hallway right next to it. And we both saw a shadow figure walk down the hall and turn to each other and simultaneously said, "Did you see that?" And I gotta tell you, it sent chills up my spine. And it was very, very startling to me. Tanny seems to be more at home with Bess here. We believe that it's Bess Maxwell.
I've seen her a lot more than Glenn has.
Yeah, and I was skeptical at first. She would tell me these stories of seeing these things, and
How come the husbands never believe?
I don't know.
What's up with that?
But I believe now, after I saw that, I have to tell you that it did startle me, and I really do believe that there is something to this. I saw this.
Tell them what happened the other night.
Oh yeah, I was in the kitchen, and I was charging my phone, and a shadow passed behind me. I saw that on my peripheral vision, and I swung around because I thought somebody was in the house. I knew Tanny was in the bedroom, and it really startled me. But
someone was in the house.
Yeah. I don't think it was anyone.
Not a living person.
Yes.
So, could you tell if it was male or female, or?
I couldn't. I couldn't tell you. I kind of got the sense that it was male, actually, but I didn't know.
Which makes a lot of sense because recently we've uncovered some information about the house that we didn't know before. And we think that we actually have several spirits living here. One being of the man who built the house, Irvy Dunbar. So it's very possible that maybe it was Irvy that you saw. I don't know, because I've only ever seen Bess in the hallway and in the bedroom a couple of times. I've never seen her outside of that space. So I don't know. I don't know who it was.
I guess we'll have to stay tuned and find out.
Yeah, so we're taking you guys along this journey with us. We're doing more digging and uncovering more history about the house. And we'll keep you abreast of all of the new developments. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening. If you like this kind of stuff, give us a like and a follow. And like always, guys, sleep well.
Okay, bye now.
Good night. Hi, Tanny and Glenn, back tonight with another true ghost story. This one's not actually about our house. It's about a shared experience that we had on the road about 6 years ago. Take it away, Glenn.
Well, we went back to Arkansas to buy Tanny's dad's truck. And since we live in California, we were going to drive it all the way back. We were on Highway 40, and we decided that we wanted to go see Four Corners up out of Albuquerque. If you don't know what Four Corners is, it's where Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and Nevada all come together, and you can be in 4 states at the same time. That's pretty cool. So anyway, we were on 550 heading north towards Shiprock. And about maybe an hour into the drive, we come across a native boy, about 15 years old.
Keep in mind, this is in the middle of the desert. We haven't passed a house or a car in at least 30 miles. And it's hot. The thermometer in the truck read 117 degrees.
Yeah. Anyway, so we came across this boy, and he's dressed in a black t-shirt, black shorts, and he's bouncing a basketball with his head down, no expression, just bouncing the ball. And we thought, wow, that's kind of odd out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, like where did he even come from is what we were thinking.
Yeah. And so we proceeded up the road, and like Tanny said, it was blistering hot outside. And about maybe 100 miles up the road, we see a figure dressed in black, and we come up on him. And
it was just starting to get dark.
Yeah, and it was that boy.
Same boy. Same shirt, same shorts, bouncing a basketball 100 miles or so up the road. No cars, no houses. We slowed down, and we're looking at him. He's got no expression on his face. He's looking down, bouncing that basketball, and we just about ran off the road. We could not believe what we were looking at.
Yeah, and mind you, I thought about this when I saw him. We hadn't even passed a car. Nobody came past us or anything. There was no cars. It's a very desolate area. If you've ever been in that area, you'd know what I'm talking about. It's not a whole lot of traffic going on.
Have any of you ever had any experiences on Highway 550? Let us know. Drop it in the comments.
Yeah, anywhere in that area.
Yeah, that was just a really bizarre experience. So if you guys like this sort of thing, give us a like and a follow. And we'll be back tomorrow night with another ghost story. And until then, sleep well.
This is GLEN signing off.
Bye, guys. Hi there, my name is Tanny, and I'm back with another ghost story. This one's going to be different than the ones I've told in the past. Outside of a few close family members, I've never spoken about this publicly, and that's because it's about my mom. I decided to tell this story tonight because I am aware that there might be some people out there who are struggling with the loss of a loved one, and I want this to be a message of hope for people. So my mother got sick in 2011. We had taken her to specialist after specialist, and nobody could give her a diagnosis. As the year wore on, she got weaker and weaker. And finally, she saw a doctor in San Francisco, and he told her that she had pulmonary hypertension. She got a second opinion, and that second opinion confirmed that diagnosis, and they gave her 3 to 6 months to live. So this would have been in June. And at first, I think I was in denial about it because my mom was such a spitfire and so full of life and energy that the idea of her not being here, I couldn't wrap my mind around it. But by the time December had rolled around, it became obvious to me that she was losing this battle. And I started coming over to my parents' house every day to help my dad take care of my mom. And towards the end of the month, it became necessary for me to move in because she was needing 24-hour care. So during this time, these few days before Christmas, it was around the 22nd, she was spending a lot of time sleeping. She was only awake for a couple hours during each day. And that's when we started having conversations about what she wanted, all the hard conversations. You know, do you want to be cremated? Where do you want your ashes to be spread? Stuff like that. And she talked to me about people that she was seeing when she was awake. She'd say that my brother had come to visit her, and my brother had passed away a couple of years before. She told me that her mother had been there the night before. And that's when I asked her, you know, if when it's her time, when she leaves, would she promise me that she would come back and let me know that she was okay? And she did. She said, of course I will. And a couple days pass, it's Christmas Eve, and she's not speaking anymore. She's not waking up. We called the priest in. She's given her last rites, and death is imminent. So we decided to have the family over for Christmas Eve. We pushed her bed out into the living room by the Christmas tree, and it was a very somber time. We knew that my mom was passing, and we just wanted to be with her because we knew that was the last holiday that we were going to be able to spend with her. So, you know, her nieces and nephews and her grandchildren and her kids, we were all there surrounding her and talking to her, even though she was unconscious. And right around 1 a.m. on Christmas Day, she opened her eyes and she had just a split second of lucidity. And she looked at me and she said, "Where did Jamie go?" And I said, "Mom, Jamie died." Jamie being my youngest brother. And she smirked and she said, "Asshole." And she closed her eyes and laid her head back down, and she started moving from side to side, smiling like she was listening to someone and nodding her head. And she'd lift her hand up like she was touching someone's face. And then about an hour later, she took her last breath and she was gone. So at that time, I wasn't thinking about the promise that she made to me. We were just grieving as a family. And, you know, we just did what families do. We had the service and did all of the things. And about 6 months goes by and I start to remember, oh yeah, she said that, you know, if it was possible that she would come back and give me a sign. And I hadn't seen any signs. No butterflies, no hummingbirds, no lights flickering, nothing. And so by the end of the year, I was thinking, you know, all the paranormal experiences that I've had in the past must not have been real. Because if anybody was going to come back and let you know that there was something on the other side, it would have been her. It would have been my mom. And she hadn't done that. So I was just starting to get really sad and depressed that the things that I had experienced before with the paranormal probably weren't real. Maybe they were just in my head. So that brings us up to Christmas Day. It was the 1-year anniversary of my mother's death, and we decided to have Christmas at my sister-in-law's house. So we loaded up the car, we went there, we managed to squeeze in some festive cheer, even though it was a sad time. And I loaded up the car, and the kids and I were getting ready to go home. When I turned the car on, my dashboard lit up. All of the warning symbols lit up. The ABS brake thing, the oil light, the low tire light, everything lit up and was flashing. And this was a new car. I had only gotten it 2 months before, and I was shocked, and it scared me. So I turned the car off, and we just sat there. And I'm looking at the kids, and they're looking at me, and we're like, what the heck was that? So I turned the car on again, and again, everything lights up and is flashing. So I turned the car off again, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Should I call a tow truck? Am I going to stay the night at my sister-in-law's? What am I going to do? So we're sitting there, and my daughter turns to me and she said, "Mom, it's Grandma." And I was like, what do you mean? And she said that she was going to give you a sign. I think this might be the sign. So I turned the car on again. Everything lights up for the third time. And so I say out loud, Merry Christmas, Mom. If this is you, I want you to know that we all love you, but you're scaring the hell out of me because I don't know what's wrong with my car. If this is you, can you just please stop? And it all stopped. Immediately, it stopped. And so we looked at each other and we were like, I guess it was her. So we had a nice conversation with Grandma on the way home. Didn't happen again. 1 year later, Christmas Day, my kids and I get in the car, we turn it on, all the lights flash up on the dashboard again, all of them flashing. And we just kind of smiled and went, Merry Christmas, Mom. And off we went. The lights turned off and off we went. Didn't happen again until the third year, Christmas Day, 3 years in a row. Those lights on my dashboard lit up and flashed, and I just knew it was my mom. You know, you could feel her energy, and it was just so comforting to know that she kept her promise and she was telling us Merry Christmas. And so it's never happened since. That third year was the last time it happened. I did take my car in to get it looked at. Nothing was wrong with it. And I still drive that car today, and I've never had a problem with it at all. So, all right, guys, that's the story for tonight. Thanks for listening, and like always, sleep well. Good night. Tanny and Glenn here with another ghost story. So this one happened a couple months ago. Glenn works the late shift, and he gets home around 11. I usually wait in the living room for him, but on this particular night, I wasn't feeling very well, so I had gone to bed early, around 9, and I couldn't sleep, so I was watching TV, and I heard Glenn come through the front door at around 11, and you know how your voice is different when you're talking to your animals? Well, that's what I heard. He was greeting the dogs, but then his voice shifted, and he sounded like he was talking to a person. And I was thinking, well, who's he talking to? Because no one's home but me, and I'm in the bedroom. So I said, I'm in the bedroom. And a few moments later, he comes walking into the bedroom with this perplexed look on his face. And I said, what's the matter?
Well, when I pulled up, I saw a figure in the dining room, and I assumed that it was Tanny. So, of course, when I came through the front door and I greeted the dogs and I started to address her, but I didn't get any response. Just a few minutes later, like Tanny said, she calls for me from the bedroom. And so I went in there, and I was surprised to see her in the bedroom. But I thought, well, I didn't think much of it. And so after, talking with her for a minute, I went back out into the living room and got something to eat and spent some time with my dogs and watched some TV. And I started getting tired, so I went to bed. And I was just starting to doze off, and I heard some noises coming from our guest bedroom, which is right down the hall from our bedroom. So I got up and walked down there and opened up the door, turned on the light, and there was nobody in there. I thought maybe the dogs had gotten in there, but the door was still closed, and there was no one in there. So I just thought, oh well, and went back and got back in bed. And I was asleep. I was sound asleep, and I felt like somebody was watching me, and I woke up and opened up my eyes, and there was a figure standing over me and leaning out over the top of me, looking straight down at me. And I sprung out of bed, combative and swinging, because I thought somebody was in the house, but there was nothing there.
And that's when I woke up, because I just felt the bed moving. I wear earplugs, so I didn't hear any of this happen. But I woke up to him swinging at the air, and I said, what is going on? And there was nothing there. So someone was milling around that night.
Yeah, it felt like that someone was really intently looking at me, and that really just was kind of unnerving.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, that was scary.
I'm glad I missed that.
Yeah, I wish I had.
Okay, guys, that's our story for tonight. And like always, sleep well, and thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Last night, when my husband got home from work, we were messing around with dowsing rods, and we were going to film ourselves for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, edit it down, and put out a video. But the results were so amazing that we ended up messing around with these things until 2 o'clock this morning, and by then it was too late. So I am going to make a video about dowsing rods, but this story is about what happened after we went to bed. So it was about 2 a.m. We were exhausted. We fell asleep pretty fast, and about an hour later, my dog woke me up because she was fussing to go outside. So I got up and I let her out the back door. I followed her out the back door because she's a barker. So I have to go out there with her to make sure that she doesn't wake up the neighbors. So she goes off and she does her thing. And I'm standing out, you know, waiting for her to get done. And for those of you that don't know, I live in a coastal town. In fact, I'm about a half a mile from the water. And so when the fog rolls in, sometimes it's super duper thick. And it was really thick this morning at 3 a.m. And I'm standing there and I start to see something on the ground start to move. And I'm like, what is that? Is it a cat? No. You know, there was no wind, so it wasn't, because my garden is right there, so it wasn't, you know, like a tomato plant swaying or anything, but it was green. It was green. It was like a green mist that was rising up through the fog. So I'm standing there staring at it, trying to figure out what it is I'm looking at. I'm trying to get my eyes to focus. I'm rubbing my eyes. I'm pinching myself like, are you sure you're awake? And so I run back in the house and I get my glasses and I go back outside and I continue to watch this green mist rise up off of the ground, and it's kind of undulating is not the right word. It's the only word I can think of to describe it is shifting. So it's like shifting this way and that way, and kind of like it's trying to take on a shape, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it's getting bigger, it's also rising up off of the concrete. And this is going to sound totally ridiculous, but it formed into something about maybe about that big. And it was in the shape of, it looked like a big toe. I mean, if you've seen Ghostbusters, you know that pudgy green monster that kind of looks like a thumb? It sort of looked like that, but it was elongated. And I'm just like staring at it, and then it just goes, like faster than it formed, it unforms and just dissipates. And then it's gone. So my question is, what the hell was that? Have any of you out there ever experienced anything like this? I was searching my memory, and the only time I've ever experienced anything close to this was about 22 years ago when my husband was a chef for 40 years. And it was very common knowledge that the restaurant that he worked in was haunted. So one night after he closed, everybody was gone. We went back into the restaurant with digital cameras, and we stood in the bar area, and we panned the bar area with our digital cameras. And then when I got home that night, what I had captured in my camera, he did not capture in his, but what I captured in mine was this green orb that sort of like shape shifted over 4 or 5 frames. So that's really the only experience I've ever had with anything green colored as far as paranormal activity goes. So yeah, drop it in the comments. If you guys have an idea about what that is, or if you've ever seen anything like that, let me know. And I am going to make a dowsing rod video, maybe tonight when my husband gets off work. We'll see, because like I said, we were up until 2 a.m. He doesn't get off work till 11, so we might be too tired to do it tonight, but it is coming. All right, guys, if you haven't done so already, please give me a like and a follow. It lets me know that these stories are being well received, and I'll keep doing them. All right. Talk soon. Bye.
Hey, do you want to go on a mini walking tour of our haunted neighborhood? Tanny and Glenn here. This is going to be video number 1 in a series. So we don't have to go very far tonight. This is the Veterans Memorial Hall, and it's located across the street from our house. We've had a couple of really spooky experiences here. On one occasion, Glenn and I were sitting out on the porch. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning. We're night owls, and we were just enjoying the night air, and we heard sounds of a party happening from across the street. So this wouldn't normally be unusual because they do rent this building out for events, but the building was locked. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and so we crossed the street to do a little bit of investigating, and we checked the doors. The doors were locked. We peered through the glass. Nobody was milling around. There were no cars in the parking lot. So we turned around. We were going to go back home, and we heard a very distinct male voice say, "Hey," and it sounded like it was coming from right behind us, like maybe a foot away. We spun around, nobody was there. So if you notice there to the left, there is a metal ramp, and Glenn's going to walk up the ramp so that you could get a better view of it. But on a separate occasion, we were sitting out on the porch, and we kept hearing heavy footsteps walking up and down this metal ramp. And it happened for maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and then it stopped. And of course, there was nobody there. We just sat there from our porch and listened to the footsteps and saw absolutely nothing. So this is our house across the street, and Glenn is pointing up because he wants you to notice the light on in the upstairs bedroom, which was definitely off when we started filming. And by the way, it took us 3 times to film this because my phone kept dying. So no one is staying in that upstairs bedroom tonight. We do have the window open because it gets hot up there, and we were cooling the room down. But yeah, that light just turned itself on there. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Talk soon.
Hi there. This is Tanny, and I'm doing a little experiment tonight with some dowsing rods, and I'm going to attempt to talk to our ghost, Bessie Maxwell. And why am I doing this late at night? Well, it's because this is when I have the time to do it. So I hope I'm not setting myself up for a restless night. But let's give this a try. Okay, I call forth Bessie Maxwell. Bess, are you present? If you are present, can you please cross the rods? Yes, thank you. Can you please point the rods in the direction that you're standing? Okay, to my right. Thank you, Bess. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'd like to ask you a few questions about the house. We're having a hard time digging up history on the house, and we'd like to know, with all due respect, has anyone passed away in the home? Yes, thank you. And again, with all due respect, Bess, was it you that passed away in the home? Yes, thank you. Now, we have recently learned that the house was built by your brother-in-law, Irvie Dunbar. And we'd like to know if Irvie passed away in this house. Yes. Okay. Thank you. And is Irvie the one we hear upstairs? The footsteps and the thumping, is that Irvie upstairs? Yes, thank you. And we're very curious about which bedroom was yours. We feel like we feel your energy in the downstairs bedroom facing the street. Is that correct? Was that your bedroom, Bess? Yes. I knew it. Thank you. And do you remember when we first moved in 5.5 years ago, our dog Steve was afraid to go in the hallway for like 2 years? Was that because you were in the hallway, Bess? Yes. Thank you. And was it you that rolled the ball for Steve that night? Was that you? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So we've established that both you and Irvi are here. Is Irvi's wife, Agatha, your sister, Agatha, also here? No. No. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Are there other spirits besides you and Irvi that reside in this house? Are there other spirits here besides you and Irvi? Yes. Thank you. And are those spirits former owners of the house? No. No, they're not. Thank you. Thank you very much. Is there a lot of paranormal activity on our street? Yes. I feel like you knew I was going to ask that before I asked it. And is it because our town has experienced 2 tragedies? Is the paranormal activity on our street due to the tragedies that occurred here? Yes. Thank you. Bess, is it you that we see downstairs? Is it you? Yes. And are you happy with Glenn and I living here? Yes. Thank you. And what about Irvi? Is Irvi happy with us living here? No. No. Okay. Thank you for answering that. Thank you for your honesty. Okay, so I'm going to end the video there for tonight, and I'm going to do a part 2 because it's a pretty long video. And what I wanted to say before I sign off is that Bess Maxwell, our spirit here, was a teacher, and she was also the superintendent of schools. She had a very long, illustrious career as an educator. And so I just get the sense that she doesn't mind answering questions. So if any of you have a question that you would like me to ask Bess, please drop it in the comments. And like always, guys, sleep well, and thanks for watching. Bye. Hi, Tanny here. I am back with part 2 of communicating with our spirits with the dowsing rods. I put out video number 1 night before last, and I went to do part 2 of that video, and the footage is missing out of my camera. I don't know what happened to it. I know I didn't delete it by accident because I was editing it. So I'm going to redo part 2, ask the same questions that I asked the night before, and where we left off was that we discovered that the original owner, Irvi Dunbar, was not happy with us living here. And so the follow-up questions are in part 2, which is right now. Irvi, are you present? Please cross the rods for yes. Yes. Thank you. The other night it was indicated that you were not happy with us living here. Is that still the case? Yes. Okay. Are you unhappy with us living here because we are attempting to communicate with you and Bess and Agatha? Yes. Okay, thank you. Well, I would like to apologize for not asking your permission, and I'm asking it now. I'd very much like to be able to communicate with you, Irby. Yes, okay. So, are you willing to answer a few questions tonight using the dowsing rods? Yes. Thank you. Can you please face the rods forward? Thank you. Can you please point to the direction that you're standing, Irby? To my right. To my right. Okay, thank you. Irby, did you pass away in this house? No answer. Is this a question that you don't want to answer, Irby? Yes. Okay. All right. Is your wife Agatha here tonight? No. Okay, thank you. Please face the rods forward. Thank you. Oops, I moved my hand. Okay, let me start over. Okay. Is Bess Maxwell here tonight with you, Irby? Is Bess in the room tonight? Yes. Hi, Bess. Irby, I would like to ask you if you're the one walking around upstairs. Do we hear you walking around upstairs and up and down the stairs? Is that you? Yes. Thank you. And are you angry when you make those noises? Are you letting us know you're angry? No. Okay, that's good to know. Okay. Irby, I don't know if you remember Rachel, who lived here in this house as a teenager long before Glenn and I moved in. Rachel told me that she saw you a couple of times in this bedroom here. Was that correct? Was that you? Yes. Yes, okay. All right. And the doors opening and closing upstairs, is that also you, Irby? You opening and closing doors upstairs? Yes. Thank you. Irby, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask how you passed away. Was it your heart? Was it cancer? Did it have something to do with your lungs? Your brain? Did it have something to do with your brain? Yes. Yes, it was your brain. Thank you. Are Glenn and I in danger living here, Irby? Are Glenn and I in danger? No, thank you. Are you still here to make sure that everyone in this house is safe? Yes. And do you feel that Glenn and I, by trying to communicate with spirits, do you believe that we're making it unsafe? Yes. Do you think that we need to stop trying to communicate with the spirits? No. Thank you. Do you believe that we should take better care maybe, or protect ourselves when we're trying to communicate with the spirits? Yes. Thank you. And are you here all the time, or do you come and go? Are you here all the time? No. No, thank you. Please face the rods forward. Thank you. Is there a spirit in this house that wants to cause us harm? No. Thank you. Please face the rods forward. I've always gotten the feeling here that we're being protected by somebody. I always just assumed it was Bess. Am I correct in saying that you and Bess and maybe the other spirits here are here to protect us? Yes. Thank you. And are you happy with the way that we take care of the house? No. Okay. All right. Do you feel that there are repairs here that need to be done? Yes. Okay. I think I might know what they are. Does it have anything to do with my son's dog? Yes. Okay. Okay, so that's that. And I just want to clarify that when my son was living here, he had a little dog named Harley, and she did cause quite a bit of damage to the house. She scratched up several of the original hardwood doors, which we're really upset about, and it did some other little things in the house that need to be repaired, and we haven't gotten around to them yet. So I think that's what he meant when he said that he felt there were repairs that needed to be done here. Okay. Okay, guys, there you have it. That's part 2. We have lots of other investigating to do here, and we're going to be making videos along the way. So if you haven't done so already, please give us a like and a follow, and I'll talk to you soon. Good night. Our resident ghost is open and willing and ready to receive questions. So this viewer here asked this question a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, on one of the first videos that we ever put out into the public forum about what it was like living in our haunted house. And at that time, I wasn't sure about the reception that we were going to receive, but for the most part, people have been really supportive and kind. And so also recently, we've been experimenting with dowsing rods and getting some amazing results. Like, my mind is blown. So Bess Maxwell, our resident spectral figure here, was a school teacher for like 50 years, and she was also the superintendent of schools. And so she's just been super receptive in communicating with us. And so I thought that now would be a good time for people to ask questions that they're curious about, maybe about the house or Bess's life, or maybe what it's like on the other side. And I can ask Bess those questions through a dowsing rod session. And we've also recently learned that Bess is not the only spirit that lives in our house. The original owner and builder of the house, Irvie Dunbar, is also here. He's not quite as receptive. And we recently found out that he wasn't real thrilled with the little experiments that we've been doing here and all of the talking about them and the stuff that's happening here. But if you have a question for Irvie, please feel free to drop those in the comments. We're going to be doing a lot more of these videos just because I think it's interesting, and I think, you know, people can maybe learn from this, or for people out there who are having experiences that they can't explain, maybe, you know, you can feel like you're not crazy, because, you know, I thought for a long time that I was losing my mind. But, you know, here I am now telling these stories, and like I said, for the most part, people are really receptive and warm and kind. So if you haven't done so already, please give me a like and a follow, and go to my page, and you will see a subheading that says My Haunted House, and it has all of the videos that I've posted about some of the experiences that we've been having here. And I'm going to continue to post more. I'm also a TikTok shop affiliate, so I have a lot of videos on my page that you won't have to filter through if you click on that subheading. Okay, guys, so yeah, here I am ready to receive your questions, and I'll be doing a follow-up video. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Hi there, I'm Tanny.
I'm Glenn.
And we're back tonight with another story from our haunted house. If you are new here, you can go to my profile and you will see a subheading that says My Haunted House, and you'll be able to get caught up on all of the things that have been happening here. So we're going to tell you another story, and this one happened actually today. So if you have been following our story, you know that I did a session with dowsing rods, and in that session I learned that Bess Maxwell is not the only spirit that we have in our house, that Irvie Dunbar, who was the original owner and builder of the house, is also present here. And you'll also know that he was not real happy with us because we did not ask his permission to be contacting him and doing the paranormal research that we've been doing here. So we've been really careful before we try and gather any evidence to ask Irvie his permission. And last night I tried to do a part 2 of the dowsing rod session, and they were going crazy. Like, the rods were like literally helicoptering. And I tried for 2 hours and I just gave up, exasperated, and just went to bed. So that leads us to today. We've had some really interesting paranormal activity happen throughout the day, and it started this morning with Glenn replacing an electrical, what do you call it, outlet cover.
Yes. Yeah, I was down on my hands and knees. The outlet cover's on a baseboard, and so I had this little standard screwdriver, and I undid the screw, set the screwdriver down to my side there, and took the cover off, the old one, and it was cracked and came off in pieces. And so then took the new one and put it on there and got the screw to put it back in, and I reached for my screwdriver and it was gone. I had just set it beside me, and I looked around and it was off behind me on the other side. And I thought, wow, that was really strange. But I got the screwdriver and put the plate back on.
Now, we do have a dog who's a thief. He steals things, but we have a gate that was closed, and because they're not allowed in the entryway, and that gate was closed, and Glenn was in there by himself. So a couple hours later, I'm in the kitchen and I'm processing a bag of apples that our friend gave us, and I hear Glenn walk in from the dining room into the kitchen. I have my back towards the door. And so I say, can you take out a hamburger from the freezer for dinner, please? And I heard a male voice sigh, like he was so put out or something. And I'm like, what the heck was that reaction? So I turn around and nobody's there. And then I remember that Glenn said that he was going to go into the front yard and pull weeds out of the garden bed. So I went into the living room and I peeked out the window, and sure enough, there's Glenn on his hands and knees pulling weeds out of the garden bed. So the day goes on, everything is like normal. And then about 2 hours ago, I'm in the living room talking to my cousin on the phone, and Glenn is in the kitchen unloading the dishwasher. And I'm looking down at my feet as I'm listening to my cousin talk, and something catches my eye, and I look up and I see a shadow figure walk right past the door to the hallway. It's a glass door. Walk right past. And I'm just like sitting there stunned.
Yeah, and I'm in the kitchen and I'm unloading the dishwasher, and I have my back to the door that leads from the kitchen into the hallway. And I hear the door open and close. And I turned around expecting to see Tanny standing there.
Now, bear in mind that we are really careful about keeping this door closed, because that hallway leads to our guest bedroom and our master bedroom. And we do that because if that door is open, the dogs will go in there and lay on the bed. So this door is always latched closed.
Yeah, they'll jump at the chance to get in on that bed. So I expected to see Tanny standing there. She wasn't. So I walked over and I opened the door, and sure enough, it was closed all the way and latched. And I opened it up and looked down the hallway both ways, and there was no one there. And I had thought she was in the living room, so I closed the door and I went back to the living room, and I asked her, I said, Tanny, did you just come down the hallway and open and close that door? And she said, no.
But I did see someone walk down the hallway. So usually when we do see shadow figures downstairs, it's definitely a woman. I mean, it's shaped like a shorter, heavy-set woman. But tonight, this was definitely a man. This was the shape of a man. So we're thinking maybe it's Irvy, since we've been able to make contact with him. We've really noticed an uptick in activity downstairs, whereas before we made contact with Irvy, that activity was relegated to upstairs, but now it's just kind of throughout the whole house, which is interesting. So that's our story for tonight. And if you guys, if you're new here and this is something that you're into, please consider giving us a like and a follow. As things unfold here, we're going to be documenting those stories and bringing them to you. So thanks for watching, you guys. And like always, sleep well, and we'll talk soon. Good night.
Good night.
I absolutely love her TikToks. I think her and her husband are absolutely adorable, and I love hearing about this house. I definitely don't think there is anything negative going on here. It sounds like they've kind of made friends with the spirits in the house, especially now that they know who they are. As much as I enjoy my quiet living where there's no entities in my space, I would say if it were a situation like theirs, I wouldn't completely mind it. Universe, let's not manifest that, but it seems like they coexist very well. And I mean, again, I love hearing about their house. I love hearing about their town and the things that they experience and the history. I really hope you guys enjoyed their TikToks as much as I do, because there are quite a few more that I have not watched or saved yet, but there's been quite a few more posted that I'm aware of since I saved this batch to include in this video, and I would certainly love to continue including them in future videos. I just think that they are such a sweet couple, and I love listening to her stories. That is all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on any of the TikToks I shared with you today. If you come across any terrifying TikToks you'd like to see me include in a future video, feel free to tag me in them. My TikTok link is down below. My username is @theAbbeyStromeyer. While you're at it, please check out my Instagram and TikTok where I post special effects makeup content. I have a feeling if you guys like my spooky content here, you will like my spooky makeup content over there. If you guys did like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. I will pop a couple video suggestions on the screen for you to watch next. Click the subscribe button down below and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I post Sundays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Time. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next time. Bye.